Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Producer Jamie titled Coulda Shoulda, and if we switch over to here we have who I assume to be Tibetan monks in a mountain with instruments and drums in the background, so this should be good. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. I mean, like, the theme works so far.
You could have done this and you could have done that, but you didn't, so you shouldn't, and you couldn't, so you wouldn't. You wanted all this and you needed all that, but you let it slip away and then you wondered where it was at. You could have done this and you could have done that, but you didn't, so you shouldn't, and you couldn't, so you wouldn't. You wanted all
I like the use of those backing vocals and the harmony.
slip away and then you wondered where it was at. I think you got something that you should embrace. Now you can't focus, you're just a jack of all trades. With some dedication, you get sharp like razor blades. Because you got the potential just like unused grenades. Now why are you so afraid? It's not scary at all. It does take too much time or energy to play ball. It's not like the boogeyman is 8 feet tall. I'm glad you can't believe I'm someone you should call. The time is now, just take your time. Better get it out. Better make a stand, give it what you got before your time run out. Do it now while the fire's hot. Then we're gonna help you out. You the one gonna be on top. Better release it now. You could have done this and
Back to the hook, nice.
that, but you didn't, so you shouldn't, and you couldn't, so you wouldn't. You wanted all this and you needed all that, but you let it slip away and then you wondered where it was at. You could have done this and you could have done that, but you didn't, so you shouldn't, and you couldn't, so you wouldn't. You wanted all this and you needed all that, but you let it slip away and then you wondered where it was at. Dear good friend, you kinda sold yourself too soon. You gotta let yourself develop and take over the room. Confidence and persevere, take it to the moon. The opportunity disappears when you decorate your doom. And I know you've done hurt, there's something telling me that you don't need this enough until then let you be. Someday you'll focus and then build your masterpiece. Yeah, I know, but not we ain't giving no guarantees. The time is now, just take your time. Better get it out. Better make a stand, give what you got.
I like the tension in the second chord in this sort of bridge part.
Slip away and then you wondered where it was at. You could have done this and you could have done that, but you didn't, so you shouldn't, and you couldn't, so you wouldn't. You wanted all this and you needed all that, but you let it slip away and then you wondered where it was at. You could have done this and you could have done that, but you didn't, so you shouldn't, and you couldn't, so you wouldn't. You wanted all this and you needed all that, but you let it slip away and then you wondered where it was at.
I assume that this is probably an artificially generated video. It's incredible. I mean it genuinely. It's amazing what technology can do nowadays. July 2024. So that was producer Jamie with their track Coulda Shoulda. How do we feel about this one? Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Producer Jamie titled Coulda Shoulda. Now in this section I typically talk about a few things that I liked about the track in addition to maybe some sort of constructive critique or feedback on what could potentially be improved or could have been improved. But I think first of all, like, what is this track about? I think this track is effectively saying, you know, if you're going to do something and you need to strike while the iron is hot, you shouldn't sort of like wait until the perfect time to do it. You shouldn't wait until you're dead. You should make the most of the opportunity now and do what you can while you're alive. And I think that in essence, that's a pretty sort of motivational thing. I think it's a cool message that I think will appeal to most people and encourage people who are maybe on the precipice of making a fairly life-changing positive decision to move forward to doing that positive thing. So I think it's a really cool song from like the story alone. I think it's a really sort of like it's a good thing. In terms of things I liked about this track, the first thing I will mention is that I liked the fact that it had several distinct sections with different motifs or different representations, even if they're like similar bass lines or progressions. You had adjustments in that bridge, for example, where that second track was suddenly kind of tense to kind of communicate the fact that we were feeling a sense of tension about the fact that we're almost to the point of needing to do something or that time is running out and you need to make your move. So I think that the actual way that we structured it, in addition to the chord choices and bassline decisions that we made at those parts, was smart. And I think that there was enough to sort of carry us through this 3.5 minute track in a way that was compelling. I also appreciated the relative minimalism of the composition itself. Like we had strings, we had some guitar parts, we had bass, and we had drums and a few other elements. There may be some sort of sub layers, sort of cymbal hits or something like that, some sort of trappish elements. But I really think that's all we kind of needed here. We didn't need to over-egg the pudding, so to speak. I think if we had tried to overcomplicate by adding like different lead layers or whatever. I mean, producer Jamie was the focal point in this. I think that's totally fine, especially if you're rapping or sort of like doing your vocals. I think that's solid. And I also think that the relative minimalism kind of carries on to what's going on with the actual performance of the vocals itself. Like we could have had all these different vocal layers with all these different affectations and stuff like that, but we had a fairly similar sort of sound to our vocals for a lot of it. Well, they had harmonies and like the hook sections and stuff like that, and some sort of like double tracking going on in the bridges. But I think ultimately we allowed the actual message to come through more clearly than the actual. We're not trying to sort of like, we're trying to let the message be the main sort of focal point, whilst being able to confidently and competently sort of rap on top of it, which and sort of like they kind of had like a melody to the rap as well, which is cool, which kind of did suit the chords neatly. I think the third thing is just a small thing where it's like we had the strings in there as an actual sort of sense of dramatic intent, and a lot of people's lives, you know, they either are movies or people see them kind of like movies, you know, like, and I think that if you can kind of be a way of afflicting a sense of urgency to have a sense of sadness in those strings, almost like you're lamenting or mourning the loss of your ability to be able to do things differently. And in that sense, I feel like it's really incredible because you have someone coming in where it's just that one instrument just has a lot of extra weight to it. I think that if you had not had the strings in here, it would have sounded a little bit so sort of generic and non-committal to have really allowed that sort of message to sort of hit home. And so I think the instrument choice, in addition to the structure and things like that, is what made the song effective. I don't really have anything I'd potentially want to sort of like change or adapt or improve about the song. I think that the fundamentals are here. It'd be dependent on like where we wanted to go in regards of a larger discography. I feel like this is a good standalone track where it says what it needs to and kind of bows out. I'm not sure how you could necessarily kind of make this a bigger concept like an EP or an album. But nowadays it can be better just to sort of focus on doing singles as opposed to sort of expanding beyond that, because it makes, you know, like people are arguably more likely to listen to a single first if you haven't already kind of got like it's easier to get people to commit to a single than an EP or an album, unless they're quite sort of like familiar with your work and want to go on that journey. Or even if they are, it's, you know, going on that journey for that amount of time consistently to be able to sort of understand the context and sort of texture of it. But that's effectively my review of this track from an actor named producer Jamie titled Coulda Shoulda, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show him some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.